Tina Koto Katoa, everyone, and welcome back to Mucky Hope Productions. I'm your host, Mucky Hope, and oh my God, have I got a special treat for everyone here. I am so honored. We've got Australia versus the world coming up pretty soon, but what about Mucky Talks with the World? Everyone, please welcome three amazing people, all from the Make It to Merge podcast. We've got Sophie, Kirsty, is that how you say your name? It's Kirsty?
Yeah.
Kirsty and Will. How's it going, everyone?
Good. How are you doing?
We are honored to be here.
Honestly, I'm so honored. I feel a little bit starstruck, I've been listening to some of your stuff throughout the season. I see all your reels pop up. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like a dream come true.
Oh, thanks so much. We're so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. And, it wouldn't be a Mucky Hope Productions live without the amazing Gabe here in the comments. The season ended good, 100%. Thank you so much for coming onto the live, Gabe. But I'd love to know from each and every one of you, what has been your thoughts throughout this whole entire season?
I feel like this season was just chaos from the off and in the best way possible. Obviously from the first episode, we just had so many inexplicable moves, so many shenanigans. From the first episode, we were like, this is going to be a good season. So yeah, we've loved the whole thing.
Yeah. How about you, Will? Oh, sorry. After you.
Yeah, go on, Kirsty.
No, you go, Will.
Okay. Well, I think, the chaos this season has been the best part of it for me. They really cast some amazing chaotic players. We lost a lot of them early on for obvious reasons, because they were chaotic. But really fun season, and just great to see two heavily strategic players in AJ and Miles get so far and be recognized as well, which is nice.
Yeah. And how about you, Kirsty? So sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, you are fine. Yeah, I think Nash really set the tone when he found that idol within the first 5 minutes, and then he came back to the camp wearing it. I was like, okay, I see how this season's going to be.
Yeah, for me personally, it all started with Kent. When Kent burnt Max's hat in the fire, I was like, oh my gosh, I know what the season's going to be like. It's going to be burning people's clothes. It's going to be random bits and bobs of chaos, social moments and strategic moments as well.
What was your thoughts when he then told Max at Tribal that he had burned the hat?
I was like, what are you doing? Gosh, first of all, he's like, all right, the plan is Miles, but I'm just going to take a nap during all the and then I'm going to tell everyone I burnt Max's hat. It's like, bro, what are you doing? But those are the kind of players I love to see the most, though. People who just go off guns blazing, sprinting all the way to the end. But Australian Survivor is a very long game, and it's a very long sprint if you're going to try to do it for 50 days.
You know what? We should give some credit to Kent, because he was on to Miles from day one. Tried to get him out, and he went on to win.
I know, and I feel like Miles wasn't in the edit very much at the start, and we were all like, what is he doing for Miles? And then it became clear.
Because he saw very early on, he's a jungle rat. He's a rat slithering through or crawling through the jungle. And Mad Dog Kent changed the season. That's all I got to say. Kent changed the season.
Yeah,
we feel like as soon as Kent was on the mat and saw that Max was wearing a hat, he thought, I'm going to burn that.
Exactly. Kent set the tone. A lot of players burnt their games, from the burning of the hat, and he called out who the winner was, first or second episode? How crazy. Mad Dog Kent, bring Kent back. Australia versus the world. Why isn't Kent on there?
I agree. He should be the star.
Yeah.
We were very pleased that when they cut the pre-mergers from the intro video, that Kent still remained in it, hanging out the bus window, just leering at the.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I do love some of the intro videos and stuff, because you can kind of see that there are different challenges, and if you look closely, you can see other people in it, and so it's sort of trying to analyze it, when is that challenge going to happen? And I forgot what season it was, but there was one challenge where it didn't actually happen till after the swap, so you kind of knew that player was always going to be sticking around no matter what. I think it was Times vs Rebels or something like that.
Was it when Dave had that sword? And it was like in the intro, like raising this sword idol above his head or something.
There was another one, but I forgot which play it was. It was someone from Times vs. Rebels,
Right.
where it was a challenge that happened during the swap. Maybe Jaden, maybe. I can't recall off the top of my head. But one comment here from Gabe is, the season started with crazy players just outright saying everything. The woman ran pre-merge, and the merge, their alpha personalities clash. AJ, Miles, and Kaylin capitalized on that run merge. Yeah, and I'd love to discuss that with all you guys. So I guess we'll talk about Zara and her elimination in a second. But the final three is AJ, Miles, and Kaylin. Very, different styles of gameplay. You had AJ, who was, I guess, the outwit, strategizing, wheeling and dealing. You had Kaylin, who was, I'm trying to think of all the different ones, outplay, right? Where Kaylin was winning all the individual immunities, but he's also very social, never targeted. And Miles was outlast because he had to survive every single vote. Which categories do you guys respect the most? The outwit, the outplay, or the outlast?
That's a good question. I really respected Miles's game probably the most, just because he had to endure so much in terms of getting out of the bottom. He was in the bottom so many times, and somehow he kept his like endurance, he kept his like positivity, and he managed to get out of it every single time somehow. So, through a little bit of luck with idols, which he admitted himself. But I think I really enjoyed watching his game, and I enjoyed just seeing him come up with wild plans every now and then as well.
Yeah, you definitely. And how about you, Kirsty? Which aspect of the game do you respect the most?
I would say the outwit, because I love like those strategic players that are thinking like 3 moves ahead of everyone else.
Yeah. And you, Soph?
Same for me, I think, just because I'm so unstrategically minded as well. So whenever they come up with anything, I'm like, oh my God, that's so clever.
Yeah. That's so funny you say that, because when I look at the three of you, if we're all playing Survivor, I'd have my eyes on you, Sophie. I would think that you're I would be thinking, oh, Sophie's a strategic mastermind. You got to watch it. Watch out. Oh, gosh.
You're the Kent and I'm Miles in that scenario.
Sophie's definitely the social player, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, that's what I value the most. It's always like the social kind of gameplay. You get what I mean? Because while you can be very strategic, like AJ, or even with Caleb, we saw he was quite strategic, whispering all these moves. You got to have like the respect of the jury as well, and that comes a lot through your social game and stuff, and making the jury like want to love you and want to like respect you and award you the win, which unfortunately Kaylin wasn't exactly able to do. But just before we move on to the final three, Miles wins individual immunity at the final four. Like, what was your reaction when Miles won that challenge?
We were jumping off the sofa. Like, we were elated because it was when he needed it, and it was his game. It was his challenge. Little bits of every element of it were things that he'd done either in the show already and shown he was good at, or did in his life, like with the pole dancing stuff, trying to get around the rope. It was just and that was his challenge that he needed to win, and we wanted to see him get through to the end, see him win an immunity, because he'd tick off that Survivor bucket list, and he did it.
I mean, Sophie, Miles did say in the speech as well that luck played a lot in his game. It was almost like main character energy, almost, right? It was like whenever he like needed to really dig his roots down and go, he managed to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a really deciding factor that he admitted that luck was a big part of his game, because if you tried to deny that and just say, it was just me playing really well the whole time, the jury's not going to respect that.
Yeah, and Kirsty, as Gabe brings up here, Zara was screwed once Miles won immunity. Do you think Miles should have made Zara go to fire?
On a personal level, I wanted to see the fire. I'm disappointed. I was gearing up for it. Strategically, though, I feel like he made the right decision.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost hardball because, like I guess just looking at the grand scheme of things, AJ and Kaylin are seen as the bigger players and the bigger targets compared to Zara. So you could potentially look at Zara as someone, you could easily drag to the end. Do you think it was smarter keeping all all the threats around him right till the very end, or do you think he should have tried going for a swing anyways?
Yeah, I mean, I think because it's kind of difficult for Miles in that situation. I think he was confident in his own game, to be fair. I think he knew if he managed to make it through to like the final tribal that he'd do very well, whoever he was against.
Yeah.
And I think as well, if he, again, I would have loved to have seen it go to fire as well, just for the pure fun of it. But I think whoever he alienated by making go to fire, which would probably have been Kalen, if he'd voted for Kalen, him and Zara had gone to fire, Kalen probably would have won because we saw he was good at fire, Zara wasn't. And that possibly would have swayed Kalen's decision when he ultimately won that final, final 3 immunity and made him take Agent instead. So I think in the long term, it was the right move to make.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, in the final 3, Sophie, we saw another torturous challenge. Where you got to stand on those tiny, horrible pegs. How long do you think you would have lasted in the challenge?
I'd be amazed if I could get to 5 minutes. Because, as JRP said, they were angry pegs, and it looked horrendous. What about you?
Yeah. Honestly, not even 2 minutes. Like I was doing some calculations because I work at a retail store, and for American sizes, I'm a size 15 shoe, and for European, it's 50 and a half. So my feet wouldn't even come close to fitting on those pegs. I would have just been like, you know what? It's not my challenge. Whatever will be, will be. But how about you, Kirsty? Do you reckon you would have had a shot at winning this challenge?
Yeah, I reckon I could get a solid 3 minutes.
And
how about you, Will? So far, we've got 5 minutes. We've got instantly eliminated in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
exactly
a light guy, so those kind of challenges are just not for me at all. I would be definitely in that 2 minute mark somewhere. And I have
my God. GLP would be fuming at the lot of us if it was us for that. He didn't
maybe not. He gets to go to the pub early.
We're all out within 10 minutes.
Yeah, it would have been like that one challenge pre-merge where they're holding up the sandbags of water and then it all just came crashing down. I was like, what happened? I don't know.
I still do
of that.
No, no one admitted to throwing it, did they? And how do you throw a group challenge like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling, Matt.
Yeah. I did assume it was a throw though. Surely, surely not within 2 minutes. The whole tribe fails. You know what I mean?
I can't see how.
Who threw it? Because no one was even saying. Fair enough, I'm not saying to the other players, but no one was saying it in the confessionals that we saw.
Yeah.
What
yeah, exactly.
Has anyone spoken about it? Has it come out since?
I haven't seen anything about that. I feel like there's one part of the internet that you're going to have to really scour through. Going to have to go to the dark webs, to try and find if the judge was good or not. Miles, our first and his friend, forgot to cheer for him. Yeah, I love that so much, Will, where it's like, yeah, Miles, you got this. And then he just drops out. If you had to bring a loved one onto the show, who would you bring out to try and root for you or cheer for you?
Well, assuming I'd be allowed to bring a couple of people like they have previously, I would bring Sophie and Kirsty here as the biggest fans I know. Yeah, but I did feel Miles's friend's pain, to be fair, as a fellow introvert, that you don't want to shout out at the wrong moment in your mind.
Yeah, how about you, Sophie? If you had to bring one or multiple people out, who would you bring out?
I feel like I would lose some relationships if I did not bring Kirsty and Will with me.
It's going to be predictable answers until Kirsty comes in.
But we have made pacts. If any of us ever make it and there's a chance of a JLP meet, it has to be the others that we bring.
Yeah, we have our own final 3 agreement here.
So you guys are so lovely to each other. If I was to ask the same thing to all my co-podcasters, they'd be like, well, first of all, you wouldn't make past first episode, so we don't have to worry about all that. And second of all, they'll probably just be like, drop, do a backflip, drop. Yeah. I love the unity and the love you guys will have for each other.
We love that, when George was on the final challenge and he brought his mum out, and then his mum was just saying to him, "It's okay, Georgie, you can get down now."
Or when he brought out Kara, I thought that was so funny. And here was his feelings when he brought out Kara. But speaking of Kara, Mucky would bring sneak. Oh, absolutely. I adore Sneaky Steve. When he was like announced being on the villains tribe, and everyone's like, "Why is he here?" I was like, "Of course he's got to be here." And apparently, my mother is Kelly from Titans vs Rebels.
Kelly would be perfect. I feel like she would be so supportive.
I reckon.
Some because she's a psychologist, she might have some tips like about the brain, how to get into that like Zen mindset that all the winners get into. She might coach you through that.
Okay, here's a question then. It's a tangent slightly, but if you had to bring a former contestant on to cheer for you in that final challenge, who would you pick?
That's a good one.
If I had to pick, it would probably be Eileen from last season, because I've got a massive crush on her, and the embarrassment to drop in front of her would be greater than any pain I would have to go through. So that would be the motivation to really push me through. How about you guys?
I'd go Haley, because she knows like the kind of pain management techniques, I think. So she could be giving me like a pep talk before it, telling me how to like manage the pain.
Yes. And how about you, Will?
It's got to be either between Dave the Golden God, just because I think he's going to have some great motivational stuff, or George, because I think he'll just bully me and just be like, if you drop, you're going to look like an absolute idiot. So you better not.
Unless he was like, "Oh, just give up, Will. Just give up."
Yeah, he's in the challenge. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I love this one when George does his like grand speeches, where he's very loud and confident as well. So I feel like if he was to do that, he's like, "Well, if you drop out, you would be the worst player, the worst person."
Absolutely,
that would be very motivating. And how about you, Sophie?
I'm torn. I feel like I always choose Shani for these types of questions, but I just feel like she'd be so supportive and she would get you through it. On the flip side, I also think Nick Iadanza would be a great choice because he'd have so much chat that you could just like be distracted by.
Yeah, no, I love Nick. I feel very bad because the first season of Australian Survivor was the first season I actually ever like properly watched, but I was watching in and out. And so I was like, oh my God, he said a lie. He's evil. He's horrible. We do not like him. Lee Castledine, Sam Webb, all the way. But every time I look back on it, it's oh my God, I feel so bad. Can't please see you're going to turn back in time. Man.
Oh, you were backing the honourable games, were you?
I was. And then I saw Luke play season 2. It's like, you know what? Throw all that honor crap out the window. All right, I'm all about strategy and big moves now. But we do see that Kaylin Sophie wins the 7th immunity challenge, the highest out of any international survivor there has ever been.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
A great achievement. And you know what? I know everyone says it. He just seems like such a nice guy that you can't help but be pleased for him. So really great achievement. I feel like towards the end, I was like, because when you really want a Miles win, I was like, with the one with the ball where they were pushing it up on the stick. Really wanted Miles to win that one. So I was kind of torn. I was like, very happy for Kaylin getting that title. Yeah. Also, really wanted someone else to win at one point.
Yeah. Well, like quite often with Australian Survivor, they do cast a lot of very muscular people, very like mentally like strong people. Do you think this record will be broken anytime soon?
I mean, I actually can't remember who else other than him and Miles in this season won individual immunity. What was there anyone else?
Sarah did.
So I mean, it's going to be really difficult, right? Like that, someone's going to have to win basically every single individual immunity. It's possible for sure, especially if they play such a strong social game, because I think usually we see the first time they don't win that individual immunity, they're gone because everyone sees, they're the challenge beast or challenge enthusiast, as Kaylin loved to say this season. So it'll be tricky for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just wait till Kirsty gets on the season. right? You're easily going to dominate all the challenges and just charm your way through, right?
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Easily, yeah. How much can you pull at the gym?
Like nothing. Those challenges look like hell on earth. They look horrendous. Like that one with that stick when they were trying to push the ball up. That was so difficult. We were talking about it on our pod, and we were saying if we were trying to do some of these challenges, like we would just be there forever. Like what would happen if no one can do it? That would be us.
Yeah. Something I talk about. So one of my best friends is Hamish. Unfortunately, he couldn't make the live tonight, but we've really loved the last gasp challenge, the one where you're underwater and you have to make the snorkel through the bars. But knowing me, I'd accidentally get my arm stuck, so everyone would think I'm doing so well, but I've actually just drowned under the cage. But one comment here from Gabe, though, is that would Shun and Gus count as one? Due to so much Survivor, it's helped distract my opponents or Shunny. I'd want to learn the secret power of Pilates. That is true. Pilates, Logan used that Pilates energy at the start of the merge. She won. Shunny, how many minutes did she win at All-Stars? Like 3?
She won quite a few. I definitely remember she won that like swimming one, and she said it was because her and a friend just go to the pool and they just like tread water and chat gossip.
Yeah. Maybe Pilates is the way to take down Kaylin, because did anyone else know Pilates apart from Logan? I don't know.
I don't think so, but Pilates did her well.
Yeah. And well, we do see, unfortunately, that AJ, who's been one of the most dominant players throughout this whole season, gets taken out at the very end. Were you sad to lose AJ here at the very end?
I mean, I wanted Miles to win, so not massively sad, but yeah, I mean, if anyone was going to win other than Miles, AJ certainly would have been my second pick. So it was sad. It was sad for him just because he has played an amazing game and super fun with all the hostage taking and things. So sad for AJ, definitely.
Well, Kirsty, it's almost been like a bit of an emotional roller coaster with AJ almost, because he started off in the first week, it's like, oh, he's such a nice guy who's just on the bottom, to I've got all these hostages here, you better start bloody throwing the challenges, to then somehow just, I called him the Rizzler on the podcast with how much he flirted with Kate, and to being one of the most dominant strategists on the season. Like, what's been your journey with AJ? Have you always loved him? Have you been indifferent about him?
Yeah, big fan ever since. Do you remember when he was sitting in the tree and Ali came over and was giving him like the pep talk about how he was probably going to be out next? I loved that. Very big fan of that. And then we had like the hostages stuff, and so many times we were saying on the pod, like, how is he still in? Like, how did he last so long? But loved him. I just love anyone that like causes drama, makes big moves.
Yeah. Well, Sophie, when the merge came around, I was like, there's no way in hell he makes it past the first, maybe second vote. I was like, he is guaranteed gone. And he just, made it all the way to the very end.
I'm still flabbergasted by it. I don't know, like, how people weren't voting him out and how he stayed in it for so long. It was like such incredible gameplay, and I feel like there's maybe a fair bit of his social game that we didn't see that kind of kept him safe for longer than anyone expected. He played such a big game, and the hostage thing, like, how did people not vote him out after that? I don't know how he survived it.
Yeah. And as Gabe says here, which I 100% agree with, he became the villain of the season. If he reached the end, though, he probably gets a different edit. Australian Survivor wants the winners to be likable. Yeah, I kind of have noticed that even with David, who played such a strong villain in this game in All-Stars, for example, even hailing Bransford's Brawn, like, there was still like that likability to them. And it wasn't like, look at me, I'm a massive prick, basically. It's like, oh, I've got a bit of a softer spot too,
Yeah, with Dave, they kept showing like the family stuff, didn't they? That he wanted to win for his family.
Yeah. And that does bring us to our final two contestants. But before we talk about the runner-up and the winner, I've got a cheeky game I want to play with you guys.
Yes.
I know it's the Mucky Hope Blindside. I call this because Maths is the number one rival to Australian Survivor. So we're going to be playing a little bit of both with the entire cast. So I've made a tier list here. We've got new phone, who do you kind of like wouldn't want to see again? A one night stand. It's like, yeah, you know, they played all right, but kind of like, you know, you necessarily wouldn't want to go back. A cheeky maybe second date, a second chance, you know, maybe, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, you know, for a while, and legendary is equivalent to marriage. So we're going to go through the whole cast, and we're just going to quick rapid fire who we think each person would go where. And I'll start off with Candace. Sophie, is Candace a one night stand? Is she like a forgettable swipe left on Tinder? Or, you know, is there something a bit more serious with her?
It's so tough because we saw like nothing of her basically. So it's really hard to make a judgment. I'm going to go for, I'll go, is one night stand like maybe again?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say that, like, you know, swipe left, you know, the very bottom, you find who this is. Like, you wouldn't want to see them again. It's like, yeah, like we've kind of seen like what you'll bring, like don't really need to see it again, kind of thing. One night stand is like maybe I'd say from like cheeky on top. It's like if they would be casted again, you wouldn't be disappointed. It'd be like, all right, I'm keen to see this person.
I'll go one night stand then, because it's very hard to make a judgment on her.
Yeah, well, when it comes to first boots, I feel like Candy just got very unlucky where she was just, you know, the casualty of Nash's idol and, you know, the chaos around Nash. No one had any idea what was really happening in that tribal. Would you want to see Candy maybe come back and fulfill more of a role, or do you kind of think like, nah, we've got other people?
I really would like to see Candy come back, because the little bit that we did see of her, it's sort of, you know, she didn't roll over and let it happen.
Yeah.
She was trying her best to, like, you know, join in on the scramble and try and make an alternative plan. And yeah, I think, like you said, she just got really unlucky, and literally it was almost like Nash just picked her at random. I know he said, oh, no social game or something, but yeah, I think that was a bit just him making up a reason.
So would you leave her as like a one night stand, or would you want to try and bump her up to a cheeky maybe?
I'd be tempted by a cheeky maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, Kirsty, it's coming down to the wire here. Is she a one night stand or a bit of a cheeky maybe?
I think let's go cheeky maybe, because we don't know. We just didn't see enough of her.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of in the middle. It's like I wouldn't be annoyed to see her back, but I won't be like, I wouldn't be campaigning for her to be back.
Yeah, honestly, I was hoping you guys would pick cheeky maybe, just because I feel like we got robbed of her potential. You get what I mean? Where it's like, I feel like there's definitely a lot more game she could have potentially played, which does bring us to Indie Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a phenomenal second episode, you know, where Indie was kind of part of Alliance, but then blew up that Alliance, but then tried to go back to that Alliance. Like, I really want to see Indie come back and play just for that chaotic energy, but where do you kind of sit with Indie?
Yes, I would quite like to see her back as well, because I feel like the move she tried to make, the one that ended up getting her voted out, in another world, in another game, I feel like that would have pulled off, and I feel like Rich and I think it was Max maybe would have voted with her, and then it would have been like this epic blindside. So yeah, I would like to see her come back and play again. I love that feisty energy.
Yeah. And Gabe, I don't know what you're talking about. Indy was a one and done. I don't think she changes if she returns. That's why we needed to return.
Yeah, we don't want her to change.
Yeah, exactly. I've been campaigning to get Rogue back from Australian Survivor. I know everyone universally hates Rogue, but I just found her so funny and think it'll be so great to see her come back and play. But how about you, Kirsty? Like, would you like to see Indy come back and play?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want her to change. I want her to come back and be the exact same.
Yeah. And how about you, Will? Are you feeling cheeky maybe, or do you reckon she's the first person on second chance?
I'm going to stick with cheeky maybe. I want to see her come back and bring some of that, what was it, puri energy she was talking about. And I think given a longer runway, she could be one of those really fun, chaotic players.
Yeah. And how about you, Sophie and Kirsty? Like, are we leaving her at cheeky maybe, or are we going to bump her up a bit higher?
She just made that second episode so good. I think we've got to do second chance.
Second chance. How about you, Sophie?
Second chance.
in my original notes, I actually have it down as legendary. I would want to marry Indy, so I will settle on second chance. And
Sure.
Will, we've got Zen. You know, coming into the season, I had very low expectations of Zen. But sorry, my microphone keeps on almost falling over, so it's semi-panicking. It's just about to collapse. But with Zen, he had a great first episode. You know, he was with Nash, found the idol with him. You know, completely flipped on Nash, and then he flipped back to Nash's side. He was flip-flopping everywhere, and he was only there for 3 episodes. I want to see him come back. How about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm gutted for Zen. Again, same as you, I had really low expectations of Zen going in. You know, his intro video, the whole like rap guy, like I was like, oh, he's like a recruit. He's probably not really going to be that much of a player. But yeah, we saw some really promising stuff from him, and I think he could have gone really far. I am torn, honestly, between like second chance and legendary for Zen.
Yeah. Well, how about you, Sophie? Are you kind of feeling second chance for Zen?
I'm feeling second chance mainly because I want to see more raps.
Absolutely. Now, we got to be very specific here. Are we talking about the raps that you munch on, or like the singing raps?
What's a rap that you munch on?
Yeah, obviously.
Oh, like a tortilla. The raps that you sing on.
Oh, see, I would have loved if someone was like, I do like rap battles, but it's like very intensely trying to make a tortilla, and it's like a race against someone else. But how about you, Kirsty? Like, were you sort of feeling the Zen?
I mean, trying to make a tortilla on Survivor, like, what's it going to be? Like a rice tortilla with just rice?
Yeah.
I think let's go second chance because, didn't see enough rapping from him, and also really loved it when he voted for Nash and then told him the next morning that he'd voted for him.
Yeah. But, I feel bad for Zen because he was first on the hit list for Kaylin. We saw Kaylin. Maybe that was part of Kaylin's strategy, was to medically evacuate all the big, strong guys leading up to the merge. So then that's how he wins out, for the merge challenges. All right, so I chucked Zen a second chance. And for King Kirsty?
Legendary.
Oh, my gosh. Legendary. We're on the same page. Love it. How about you, Will?
Absolutely, 100% legendary. Would love to see Ken come back. Love to see him burn more hats. Love to see him hang out more buses.
Honestly, Sophie, I would love if King came back. Let's say it's like, Australia versus the world kind of season, Australia versus the world 2, right? And he's there with all these amazing strategists, but he tries to play the purple game by just sleeping throughout the entire strategy time.
Imagine he just sleeps for every scramble, but makes it to the end. I would love that. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like his kids. Oh, sorry, after you.
I was just going to say, no questions asked. He's legendary for me.
Yeah. Because I feel like with that strategy, it's almost like as kids been growing up, when you think there's like a monster under your bed or, there's something coming towards you, you'd hide under your blankets because if you can't see it, they can't see you. It's like no one can vote you out if they don't know you're there. Greatest strategy. That's why Sneaky Steve lasted so long. He was so sneaky that people had no idea he was there. Strategic mastermind and Sneaky Steve.
Yeah, they would make a good alliance, actually, Kent and Sneaky Steve.
Honestly, like I would pay money to see that. Bring Kent and Sneaky Steve together. Maybe that's like the captain's rival season, how American Survivor, that Boston Robin, Russell, Ozzy and Coach, Sneaky Steve and Ken.
I would love to see it.
Well, Sophie, we've got Nash the Rash, as he was called on the show. Very massive pre-merge villain and pre-merge character. Where would you personally rank Nash?
He's a legendary for me. Just that whole first episode, finding the idol, the fact he kept like kissing the idol, everything about it, I just loved. So I'm desperate to see Nash back. Yeah,
I mean, well, it's a very ballsy move to find an idol and literally walk around flashing it around your neck. But I think the best part about it was that no one even realized he was wearing an idol. Yes.
Yeah, I loved him just milling around camp, and we just got these shots of him like sort of looking at people and puffing his chest out a little bit, and then he'd just be like,
Yeah.
No one's seen this yet? No.
Yeah.
So good.
I mean, Kirsty, it's almost like Mr. Bean waiting for, like, you know, the taxi, and he's there just checking his watch. He's like lying on the grass. You know, it's like, will someone just notice me already? But no one's keeping an eye out for his jewelry.
I know. I think Will did a tally, and like, was it 6 times he kissed that idol?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then I think in the end, did he just tell someone, "Oh, I've got an idol"?
Yeah, eventually, yeah. Because it was starting to get a bit too romantic for the show. It's like, guys, we're not maths, we're Survivor. Okay, stop kissing all the bloody idols, you know? But Will, would you rank Nash as legendary as well?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I want to see Nash come back. Maybe have learned slightly from this first time out just to enable him to stay a bit longer. But yeah, legendary all the way.
Well, Kirsty, I was very hyped on Nash coming in because I had several chats with him before the season aired, and he's really good friends with Ferris and George. And I was like, oh, that's a great combo. But then seeing how he played, so actually, that's a very bad combo. George, of course, would have told him to wear his idol around his neck and start flaunting it everywhere. It's George, but not everyone can be George, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, he's legendary for me. I absolutely loved him. One of my favorite moments of the entire series was when he was telling Polly that Polly needed him for the social game come merge.
Oh, yeah.
And Polly's like, I love your self-confidence.
Yeah. Honestly, like when he found, whilst the fake idol, I thought there was legit another idol. I was like, no way did Nash find another idol like seconds away before Tribal, I was like, that is nuts. But
they really teased us with it as well. I enjoyed
really
that.
did.
They didn't show in the edit until last minute that he hadn't found an idol. They're like, oh, maybe he has, maybe he hasn't.
Yeah. And Kirsty, up next we've got Ali, which I just want to let you know that when it comes to this podcast, you might be kicked off first. You might be kicked off a bit later on. Like right now, I'm still deciding which way I want to go, but I want you to be happy about it. Can stop being sad that we might be kicking you off the podcast.
God, I mean, for that alone, she's going second chance for me because that was just so hilarious. Again, a season highlight. That tree pep talk that really wasn't any kind of pep talk at all. Yeah.
And Sophie, something else I really loved about Ali was when she went to the Brawn tribe and was spilling all the secrets, but she was spilling all of her own secrets. Like, oh, we're in an all-women's alliance. Don't worry. We are super strong, super tight. We're basically unbreakable. You'll never find a more group of people so supportive. Like, oh my gosh. It was so great.
I was so obsessed with that. And then I loved when she went back to her Brains tribe and then she told her alliance, oh, don't worry, guys, I've told them this. And they were like, why? She actually thought like that was a good thing to do. So yeah, she's definitely a second chance for me. I want to see more like champagne secret spilling.
Exactly. Well, surely a drunk survivor one day, Ali's got to be the biggest character to bring on.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, she was so confident in herself and in her game and what was going on, and just so proud of things that everyone else is like, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
but she just had no awareness. I think I'm maybe not as confident about bringing her back as the other guys, but so I would probably go for a cheeky maybe, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you there, where it's like, in terms of who else we've got left on this cast, at this point, everyone's going to be on Legendary or Second Chance, right? Like, we don't have enough space. But for Alex as a whole, it's something where it's like, I'd find it really funny if she came back, but I do think that there is other people who I would like to see come back before Ali. But we're currently at a 2-2 tie. Cheeky maybe or Second Chance is either one of us going to work. Yeah, let's throw rocks. Well, actually, I'll leave it up to you, Gabe. Since you're the mad dog commenting, who do you think Ali should go under? Second Chance or a cheeky maybe? And while he's typing that out, let's talk about Rich. Sophie. Rich.
I'm a big Rich fan. I loved like the fact that he just weaved so many movie analogies throughout everything that was happening. I love that he was just like just wildly on the bomb squad, and that was all he could see. Wasn't really thinking anything past it. It just made for really great viewing, in my opinion. So he's another second chance for me.
Yeah, well, Kirsty, something I think is probably one of my top 5 favorite moments is when they come back and they say Ali is gone, and Rich is like, yeah, the bomb squad. It was the bomb squad, but like the bomb squad was completely shattered. And
yes, I know. And when they were at the challenge and he's just standing there chanting bomb squad, bomb squad, bomb squad. He wasn't even on that tribe anymore.
Yeah. No, but we do have a comment here from Gabe. Cheeky maybe. So unfortunately, we are going to be moving Ali to cheeky maybe. And Rich was wildly brash as his way or the highway. But well, that's something I really loved about Rich, is that clearly he wasn't like a super fan trying to play a great strategic game, but he was very loud and out there making a lot of wrong decisions. But that's why I loved him the most.
Yeah, same. I think because he's of his like director background, and I think he was involved in a few like viral videos back in the day. He's really gone into this trying to make an entertaining edit for himself. And you know, we even got that perplexed dimension thing where, you know, they do like the little edit and he's like screaming out into the stars, and it's just like zooming out. Just really entertaining kind of stuff. I would love to see more of him. Yeah, for him, it's between a legendary and a second chance for me.
Yeah, well, how about you, Sophie? Because, you know, well, you brought up something amazing. I completely forgot about the acid trip Rich went on when AJ spilled all the beans to him. He was like, oh my gosh, my life has changed around. Logan is a traitor.
I love that scene so much. I feel like the editing this season has just been like on a whole nother level. It's been so entertaining to watch. I'm torn as well, legendary or second chance. I kind of want to say.
Oh, sorry, after you.
I kind of want to say legendary. I really want to see him back.
I do want to see him back, but it's also nothing of there's so many amazing characters this season who I'd also love to see come back maybe a bit before Rich. So I'm more leaning towards second chance. How about you, Kirsty?
Yeah, second chance works for me.
And you will?
Yeah, I'll agree. Second chance for Rich.
Second chance. I'm really Sophie, but the podcast has spoken. And now we've got Ursula, or as Australian Survivor memes love to call her, Wursula. I felt really bad for Ursula because she was just on the bottom the entire time. But unlike Miles, who was very creative with ways on trying to navigate the bottom, I feel like she didn't really know how to navigate the bottom. And so because of that, while I would maybe like to come back and change her game, she's kind of more of a one-night stand for me personally. How about you, Will?
Yeah, same. I didn't really see enough from Ursula to make me think she'd be a great returnee or that much of an entertaining player. I mean, her like kind of feud with Noonan was great, really entertaining. Yeah. But yeah, I think one night stand.
One night stand. Well, how about you, Kirsty? Like, how do you sort of feel about Ursula throughout the season?
I don't have any major thoughts. So yeah, I'm happy to go one night stand.
One night stand. And how about you, Sophie? You got any major thoughts on Ursula?
Not really, no. I mean, she did show some potential. But yeah, not enough to go higher than one night stand for me.
Fair enough. And as Gabe says here, Ursula was constantly on the Brawn bottom and didn't know how to play from there, and Ursula wasn't good at the gameplay. I mean, it's kind of a hit or a miss, like, because I know with...
No.
Mucky, no.
Oh, no. Am I back?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was literally talking and I was like, why is the audio going completely silent? The rest of the screen was, oh my god. No. But yeah, with often with like a lot of Australian Survivor casting, there is a lot of recruits. And we saw with Kirby, for example, she hadn't seen a single episode before she went out and played. And then she was just one of the best players on the season. Well, where do you sort of stand with casting recruits over more fans of the show?
I mean, I'm all for it. It's all about who's going to bring like an entertaining angle to the show. You know, I don't know who's been confirmed as a recruit this season, but I imagine someone like Kate was probably a recruit. And she was a really fun player, you know, really enjoyed seeing her game. So, yeah, and like you said with Kirby, just a really fun player. So, absolutely recruit away.
Yeah. And Kirsty, we've got Mad Max to talk about. You know, he was definitely mad. He was wild. You know, he was swinging his advantages everywhere. But unfortunately, got taken out with poor Jezebel. What's your thoughts on Mad Max?
Oh, he is legendary. Him and Jezebel.
Absolutely.
Love him. Absolutely just obsessed with him as well. Like that tribal when he had the scroll, everything about that scroll when he like read it out to everyone. It's like a story time. And JLP couldn't believe it. He was like, "You told everyone what was on the scroll?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, and Sophie, something I loved as well is that he sent like his allies home as well to help him with the vote. And it's like, what are you doing, bro?
You know what? That was keeping me up at night. I was like, why did he do that? I couldn't like work out what he was trying to achieve with that. But I absolutely love him as a player, like a full-on chaos merchant. And we really love how he was like wearing his buff as like a Scrooge hat.
Oh, yes.
Not been seen before.
That was very iconic. Because do you guys watch Traders America at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something we love is Alan Cummings' outfits, right? Where he comes out, he's got all these amazing outfits. And I feel like that was Max's outfit almost. You know, this amazing sort of buff sort of design, very unique. Yeah. But we'll just sort of put him on the rankings. Kirsty obviously wants him in Legendary. I'm too kind of feeling that way. I'd love to see him come back ASAP. How do you sort of feel about Max?
Yeah, I mean, love Max. Like, just a really fun player. And I do enjoy it when people like cook the plan. Like it just makes for something a bit more interesting, a bit more entertaining. So I'd go for a legendary on Max. Yeah.
Yeah, and a couple of amazing comments here by Gabe. Max was a character, but I feel more people in the cast are way better. Max constantly felt he wanted to play massive game, but fell on his face. That's why I loved him so much. I love seeing people fall on his face. And he also had the obsession on Miles.
Oh yeah,
Max and Kent.
Right now.
I know.
Max and Kent. How about you, Sophie? Are you in agreement of putting Max in Legendary?
100% Legendary for me.
Awesome. And Sophie, we've got Noonan. And it's a hard one for me because I love that she's a fan. And she's one of the best like pre-game stories for me personally, where, you know, she wanted to come out, you know, because she wanted to change, you know, the sort of family name and stuff like that. She wanted to put herself more out there. But there was someone else on the cast also called Laura, and there was someone else on the cast whose last name was also Noonan. And it was just so funny. But I felt like overall, I don't really need to see her again. I'll put it down as a cheeky maybe because I feel like she is probably a lock for like a second chances kind of season. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Noonan.
Noonan for me is like a character I do want to see again because I feel like she's one of those ones that got dealt a bit of a bad hand, and I feel like in another game she would thrive so much more. So she's a second chance for me.
Yeah, and as Gabe says here, Noonan was one of the Brawn's biggest players. I'd give her a second chance. How about you, Will? Where do you sort of sit with Noonan?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky for me with Noonan. I don't remember her doing that much, and that's possibly just my memory. But like, I remember that she was quite sort of heavily stuck to Paulie for a while. Yeah, and I think she was kind of just hanging on to that Paulie. You know, everyone had their pairs, right? But I think out of the two of them, Paulie was a stronger player. So I would be more inclined to go on the other end and sort of towards cheeky, maybe one night stand for Noonan.
Oh, okay. Well, Kirsty, we've got second chance, cheeky, maybe one night stand. Whereabouts are you sort of feeling for Noonan?
I'm feeling second chance because of the time when her and Polly had that plan and then she just went completely rogue. I just
Yeah.
love Chaos Merchants, so I would go second chance there.
Second chance. Well, I guess by a nature of a 2-1-1, I assume you guys, you take it out when Noonan is now on second chance. Congratulations, girls. You've pulled off one of the greatest moves in podcasting Survivor history of a 2-1-1. But, well, we've got Mad Dog Ben here. And something that I've sort of grown up with in terms of Australian Survivor is that the edit isn't essentially everything. And you can sort of see players' games sort of just by watching how they are in the background. And I saw quite early on that Ben was some sort of rallier, like leader of the Brawns. We saw him, he was a massive challenge piece for the Brawns. And he was sort of the one sort of leading the throwing of the challenges to save people as well. But obviously he did have that shocking, like, kind of quit towards the end, which he came out and said it was because of a whole bunch of different injuries that sort of happened to him off screen. Where do you sit with Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben's a tricky one. Like, we didn't see really any of those injuries or anything come up in the edit. So it was just very weird that he just left. And normally, we'd see that in the edit. We'd at least see him, getting medically evacuated or whatever. But I think the fact that he was left out of the edit, no matter what the reasons for leaving were, just kind of point to there not being anything really there from him anyway that was entertaining or anything like that. So yeah, I'm probably a new phone who dis.
Oh, okay. How about you, Kirsty? Are you kind of a swipe left, new phone who dis on Ben?
Yeah, I am a new phone who dis because I can't really remember anything he did.
Yeah. I mean, Sophie, sometimes that's the best part. It's the sleeping in the background. It's the one being, sneaking around with Sneaky Steve. You never know that they're there till right at the very important moments.
True, but I want to see my Survivor players just be like very loud, kind of in your face chaos merchants. And for me, he wasn't really that. He did show some promise, I guess. Like you said, he was the ones kind of leading the challenge throw. And I feel like that's quite exciting. You want someone that's like, because sometimes we see it with like the big kind of brawny tribes that they're so set on winning all the time. They hate losing, that even the thought of throwing a challenge is just like obscene to them. So it was good that he had that kind of thought pattern about throwing them. But yeah, for me, I think I could go for a new phone who this.
Fair enough. I'm going to chuck him into new phone who dis. And Kirsty, we've got Jesse. Handsome man. I loved the ginger beard. I love that he's a recorder player. I'm a amazing recorder player myself. I would give a demonstration, but I've got no idea where I've left my recorder. But
we were hoping to see the recorder today. I'm not going to lie. We're very disappointed in that.
I know. I'm so sorry. I've really dropped the ball here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the podcast. You guys can make this now your Make It to Merge podcast, and I will just won't be a part of it until I find the recorder. But where do you sort of sit with Jesse?
I'm going to go one night stand because he's not new phone who this because the Mega Alliance idea was entertaining, but one night stand for me.
Fair enough. Well, it's quite hard because as Gabe sort of mentioned a bit earlier, the edit was for Brawn was really Nash, Paulie, and Noonan, and everyone else was completely purpled. So while there wasn't a lot of game that you saw of Jesse, maybe that's because there wasn't anything to really give the producers either. Like, what's your sort of like thoughts on Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, we at least saw more of Jesse, I think, and saw more of him sort of being more open to other thoughts and plans. Yeah, I think same as with Kirsty. He's not a new phone who this, but he's between the cheeky maybe and one night stand. And I can't remember who was it that called Miles Potboy, because it was either
Jesse.
Yeah, so that turned me against him a little bit, to be honest.
Fair enough. And how about you, Sophie? Are you also one night standing Jesse?
I am, yeah. I feel like he came across as being too comfortable in that majority Brawn alliance, and not really like apart from the Mega Alliance, not really looking to change anything up. So yeah, it's one night stand for me.
Fair enough. Like, apart from the recorded player, like, yeah, there's nothing else I have in common with him, sadly. I'm not a pro skateboarder. I wish I could be. Maybe I'm a pro at falling on my face with a skateboard. Is that a category? I feel like it should be. But Will, we've got PD. Handsome biceps. Beautiful bald head. He was next on Kaylin's hit list in terms of trying to get players medically evacuated. You almost did, but PD, just like the jungle rat, always survives. What's your sort of thoughts on PD?
Yeah, PD, I think so. I would like to see PD come back and possibly put him in second chance, just because, I mean, I liked how he responded when that happened. You know, he sort of comforted Kaylin, because Kaylin was obviously like really feeling terrible about medically evacuating potentially another player. And I've heard that PD is actually like a really big Survivor fan, and potentially he just got, you know, an unfortunate edit because he got medically evacuated or nearly got medically evacuated. Yeah, I'd like to see more PD.
Yeah, I mean, Sophie, it's really interesting because, you know, with PD, we saw a lot of him in the first episode. He was one of Nash's potential numbers, but he was the one driving to flush Nash's idol. But he was also kind of on the bottom with Kristen and Ursula. Are you also in the same camp of potentially wanting to see PD come back and play again?
Maybe. I don't know if it's a hard one with PD, because I forgot about that stuff in the early couple of episodes, but I feel like we didn't really see that much from him. He was obviously like in that Brawn tribe where the brains were getting a lot of airtime, so I feel like we didn't see too much from him, and obviously he couldn't really compete once his arm went. So I don't know, but there's nothing really about him where I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to see him again, but maybe a one night stand for me.
Yeah, I mean, Kirsty, I felt bad for him, but I was also kind of laughing at every single challenge he had to sit out of it because of his arm. And I would have almost loved to see that also throughout the season. The final 3 challenge, no, sorry, you can't.
Yeah, we were bamboozled by that, honestly. Like when he got back, like brought back in, and he had his arm in the sling. But there's no way he's going to be remaining. And he did. Yeah. But then every challenge, it was like, unfortunately, PZ's going to take this one out.
Especially when Zach went out with just his finger. It's PD's whole arm.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but then he did give us that moment with like Dr. JLP when he got injured. We really saw JLP getting so involved, full doctor mode, which we loved.
Yeah,
but that was maybe more due to Kaylin than PZ. he's a one night stand for me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with that moment with Dr. JLP, it was too much biceps. I personally couldn't handle it. I had to look away from the from the TV. But yeah, like I do agree. Where, you know, PD, he's someone, as Gab says here, he was almost the Simon Black of the season, whereas like, he didn't get much screen time, but he was kind of always there. Do you get what I mean? But Kirsty, ding dong, the witch is here. It's Laura.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on Laura.
I liked Laura. Yeah, I would do second chance or cheeky maybe for Laura, because I would like to see her back and playing again.
Yeah. Well, Sophie, I felt really bad because throughout the whole season, I was like, what the hell is Laura doing? You know, almost everything she tried to do. In my opinion, she kind of broke up the Covenant's alliance by always wanting to keep Rich around for some reason. And I always felt really bad because I'm always like so negative on the game. But I loved her as a character. I thought she was so entertaining all the way through. Where do you sort of sit with Laura?
I thought she was super entertaining, and she really tried to play the game, which I appreciate. I feel like maybe she was trying to manage too many alliances, which might have been her downfall a little bit. But I would love to see her come back. She's a second chance for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in second chance too. But how about you, Will?
Yeah, I sort of understood why Laura was trying to keep Rich around, because she saw him as that shield, because he's such this big sort of chaotic character. I think it would have been sensible. But yeah, I mean, I remember reading the cast list when it first got announced and seeing that there was a witch on the cast, and I was very excited to see where that was going to go. And yeah, not disappointed. So I'd be interested to see how she'd do a second time.
Yeah. I mean, Kirsty, something I absolutely loved was on the episode where she got voted out on, and she's like, I'm going to read Miles's aura to see if he's like lying to me, and he flat out lies to her. She's like, I believe in Miles. And she was just like, no, Laura, no.
Did you like when she was reading Kent's aura and she was like, I'm seeing colors I've never seen on a human before?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Once again, Mad Dog Kent is one of the best characters. You just look at him and you just see a whole bunch of different colors. He is a living drug.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. And how about you, Sophie? Like any thoughts on Laura?
I think she's such an interesting character. I would love to see her come back and like just vote purely on auras and like nothing to do with alliances, just a vibe.
Yeah. And well, we've now got Mad Dog Paulie. His Instagram handle was Paulie's Balls, and boy oh boy did he have some balls this season. Like there's so many times during the swap phase I was like, play your idol, but he never did, and I was like, oh my gosh, Paulie. And the one time he did play, I was like, why are you playing it? And then all 4 votes were on him. I was like, oh my gosh, thank goodness he actually did play an idol there. What's your sort of thoughts on Paulie throughout the season?
I mean, I love Paulie for like entertainment value. I really loved his story through the season. All the way through to Miles playing his idol for that sexy little snake on the end, which was great. And also just seeing Paulie's edit when they went to like the barren beach and the whole like depression stuff leading up to that, when he got the pickle instead of the phone call. I mean, I really enjoyed Paulie. I feel like the tribe hated him. They were desperate to get him out constantly. So I would love to see how he'd fare if he maybe had a bit of a better look at the draw in terms of tribe and had a tribe he could actually work with. So he'd be a second chance for me.
I mean, like, Gare brings up a really good point here where he was the only big Brawn player to make a merge. Reminded him of Nick from season 1. We're very similar to Nick. Nick was titled as the snake early on, and that lasted all the way through. We see Paulie's trying to wheel and deal to get Karen out with Ursula, Kristen, and Noonan, and that's where the snake order salesman kind of came from. And once you just have that title, you just can't escape it. And so I felt really bad for Paulie that he just couldn't get anything really off the ground. And Sophie, even when he got voted out, I was like, why isn't him and Logan working with Miles to get Kristen out? It's because they just don't trust each other enough to pull something off like this. Like, what was your thoughts on Paulie throughout the season?
I really, really liked Paulie, and I feel like the edit kind of didn't. We saw like hints of why people thought he was this snake oil salesman, but not to the extreme that it was being like relayed by the rest of the tribe. And so I would love to see him come back. I thought he was really, really entertaining. I loved the whole like Barren Beach edit, like Will said that he got. That was hilarious. I love that he just like kept going up to people and telling them he really didn't want to see his name coming out of the urn that night. So he's a legendary for me. I would really like to see him come back.
Yeah. And how about you, Kirsty? Are you feeling the legendary status with Paulie as well?
Yeah, I loved him. Even for his outfits alone, like his jury outfits, we need to see them again. So I would have him in that legendary status too.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like we need him on every jury, like especially for Australia vs. World as well. He needs to set the standard of how everyone must dress when it comes to Jury Village.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But how about you, Will? Are you chucking him into legendary?
I'm going to go second chance for Paulie.
Fair enough. I was going to go second chance. And talking about Paulie, like it did make me think, wow, he's had so many great moments. I'm going to chuck him into legendary. He was the scrappy underdog for so long, but he wasn't the jungle rat because only the jungle rat survives, not Paulie's balls. You get what I mean? And Sophie, we've got Karen. I don't know about you, but I adored Karen throughout this whole season. And the whole season for the very messy players, she was actually playing a pretty decent game, all the way through. May not have been super flashy, but I kind of feel like her points a lot of the time was actually the right point. What sort of thoughts on Karen?
I really, really like Karen. I wish she would have stayed in longer. I feel like she kind of had quite a quiet edit through the first few episodes, but you knew she was there doing the work. Then she started to really emerge as like a big game player. And unfortunately, that just put a lot of eyes on her. She was seen as like quite a big threat. But I was just obsessed with that tribal council that she did, where she got everyone over and did like a pitch in the tribal. I just thought that was such good TV, and it's a shame she went out on that vote.
Yeah. Well, when I saw that moment at tribal, it just made me realize just how good of a game AJ and Kaylin have been playing the whole time, where, Karen generally sees Kaylin as a number. Yeah. And even with AJ, he's got Kate and Morgan locked in. He's got Kaylin locked in. Miles is, presumably, locked in because he's very tight with AJ. That's a strong majority right there. And I guess, like, Kristen was kind of tight with that as well. So it didn't really matter what Karen tried to do. Like, there was just nothing she really could have done to try and save herself.
Yeah, definitely. Kaylin was really playing it well in that episode, because I think like there's even a point where she's like, "Oh, have you heard this?" And he's like, "Oh, I've heard both sides," but really we knew he wasn't with her. So yeah, it's a shame. I would really like to see her come back.
Yeah. How about you, Will? Like, where would you put Karen on the scale? Legendary or more of that second chance?
I mean, I just love that moment where I think it's Miles and AJ having like a bit of strap chat on the beach, and then Miles is like, "Oh, Karen's coming over and she looks mad." Like, it just kind of tells you that like the whole tribe is kind of a little bit afraid of her. And I would love to see her I'd love to see more of her. It's tricky. I'm trying to think of her in comparison to the other players that are left. I would probably put her in second chance.
Second chance. How about you, Kirsty? Where you go and try Karen?
Yeah, happy to go second chance. I just loved seeing her tolerance for AJ and Miles like go down throughout the whole season, like to the point where she was just so frustrated with them both because they just couldn't stick to a plan. And 5 minutes before tribal, every time they were changing it, and she was just like, "Why are we changing the plan? For what reason?"
Yeah, no, I was really hoping that Karen would be the one to slay the beast of AJ, but unfortunately, AJ is just too good, Like, why was it a doctor? Is Karen a doctor or a nurse?
Yes, a surgeon, I think.
Oh, surgeon. Well, oh my gosh, even more impressive. Why be a surgeon where you can be a poker player? You know what I mean? Like you learn how to dominate and control alliances instead of saving people's lives. Which one's more important?
Made the wrong career choice.
Exactly. And Will, I mean, I don't know why we're calling her Logan. She must well be Shawnee 2.0 with an exclamation mark. We've got the amazing Logan, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on Logan.
Yeah, I mean, Logan is just like fire. She's just got that fire in her belly. I know she's also a massive Survivor fan. She's been following it for years, and I just loved seeing her like pure rage at points. And I think she had a good strategic head on her as well. She could see the way certain votes were going. When Laura got voted out, Logan knew what happened. Laura was still in that confused state. Like, was like, yeah, they all voted for us, babes. Like, I would love to see Logan come back. I'd potentially even put her in the legendary.
Yeah, I'm more leaning towards legendary because Sophie, there were so many great, amazing moments, and I felt like with a lot of her rage bits as well, it was actually very like relatable. Where it's like, why can't Miles and AJ just do one freaking thing? God, like how hard is it to stick to one plan? But they always keep flip-flopping. I just found it so relatable.
Yeah, definitely. And I love those like really, really fiery moments from her when she's just like up to here. She's had it with a lot of them. I feel like it would be great to see her come back and maybe like, because I feel like in some point she was too fixated on getting one person out instead of being like a bit more flexible to change the votes. So I would like to see her come back and maybe adapt that slightly and be a bit more flexible with who she's targeting each week. But yeah, she was like such a great character to have on this season. I would like to see her come back.
Yeah, and a very interesting point by Gabe here as well is Logan was a great playing character. She became the leader of the Brains going into merge as a huge target. She was a firecracker once they didn't go her way. Legendary for me. Because that's very interesting because like when you look at it in terms of numbers, she really wasn't a leader coming in. It seemed like AJ or at least Karen was kind of more of the figurehead almost sort of going in for the Brains, just keeping the alliances together. But clearly shows us how great of a game AJ was playing right from the get-go. If Logan and Laura seem to be the ones in full control of everything instead of him or Karen.
Yeah, I think Logan's one of those players. She gives herself time to kind of get used to what the dynamics of the tribe are like. She's used to that whole kind of like social hierarchy thing just due to her background. So yeah, I think she maybe just played it a bit quiet at the start just to figure out where she sat in things and where everyone else sat, and then we got to see a bit more of her like come to the forefront once she'd figured out those social dynamics.
Yeah, and Kirsty, she went out to one of the most greatest tribals across the season. They almost went to Rocks. Were you frustrated that they didn't go to Rocks?
Yes, I was devastated they didn't go to Rocks. I was so disappointed. Were you?
I was very disappointed. I love Rocks. Have you guys seen Survivor South Africa?
No.
I won't spoil it, but there's one season where there is a rock draw that happens in the first few episodes.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. It was so funny.
In the first few episodes.
In the first few episodes. I won't spoil what season it is, but I do strongly recommend Survivor South Africa if you guys have the time. It is, I'd say it's a perfect combo between American Survivor and Australian Survivor, where it's more like American Survivor kind of editing, where everyone actually has a confessional, unlike Australian Survivor. But the challenges and the gameplay is very much up there, just like with Australian Survivor.
What do you think, Coop and Will we do a recap series?
Yeah, it's especially Rob's season for Australia vs. the World. That one would be a great one to cover if you guys are planning to do, South African coverage. Look at me just giving you guys so many ideas,
Yeah.
Well, no, up to 1 a.m. every weekend.
Yeah.
He needs a break.
But would you put Logan at Legendary as well?
No, I wouldn't, because you just reminded me that she swizzled us out of Rocks. She was going to be a Legendary. You reminded me that she convinced them not to go to Rocks, so she's going in second chance for me.
Well, Sophie, have you now changed your mind as well? Because I guess the disappointment of Rocks.
We really wanted them to remember.
I know, I was devastated, but she might have learned from that. And if the opportunity comes up again, if she's back, then she might be willing to do it. Or maybe if like the shoe was on the other foot, like she wasn't the one having to make people go to Rocks, then maybe she would.
Yeah, well,
Legendary.
Something else about that tribal, but it was just how funny Miles and AJ was in terms of, look, we're the most psychotic players on this tribe. We're obviously going to Rocks. You guys have no say in this. It's either Logan goes or we go to Rocks.
I loved that. Just the sheer glee Miles was taking in it. He kept like looking over and like leering at them, hope you're ready to go to Rocks.
Yeah. I dare you to go to Rocks. Like, we will do it. Don't test us.
Yeah.
To be fair, Logan did give us that amazing moment when she told Miles to stop humming in her ear. We loved that.
That was very great. Well, are you staying on Legendary with it, or are you dropping it down to second chances?
I'm going to stick to Legendary for Logan. I think one slip up is not enough to put it down to second chance for me.
Well, how about you, Sophie? Are you sticking with Legendary or second chance?
I'm going Legendary.
I'm so sorry, Kirsty, but the Rocks have spoken. Logan is going into Legendary. And Gabe says, I blame Kristen for no Rocks. Well, that's very much the next player we're going to be talking about, because the next 3 people who went out were the ones who should have gone to Rocks.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's Kristen, it's Morgan, it's Kate. Well, I don't really know how to feel about Kristen. I kind of feel like she was just there, and like often a lot of times in the edit, I felt like she wasn't really making the best plays, like telling Karen to flip a vote to Zara. Like, obviously she's not going to turn on her closest ally. Like, you should have just stuck with the plan of voting out Zara and then telling her afterwards. I did that to save you, but obviously that caused the massive downhill slide with the crazy tribal moment. How did you sort of feel about Kristen throughout the show?
I didn't feel like we really saw much of her. She is kind of, I think she was a lovely person, as far as I can tell from everyone in the show. They just they think she's great, but I didn't see any real moves or gameplay from her. She was sat quite comfortably in like a majority for a good portion of the show. And then unfortunately the one time she did try and make a move, it completely blew up in her face. So she is, it's between One Night Stand and New Phone Who This for me, but potentially New Phone is a bit too harsh.
Yeah, well, Sophie, that's a great point that Will brings up. Was like, at least she tried something. You go in. I feel like there's definitely a couple players this season who may not necessarily tried anything to change the outcome. Some people like PD were completely blindsided, but not a lot of people were trying to like maneuver and change their ways in the game. Where would you sort of rank Kristen? Like, would you want to see a Kristen 2.0?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the same as you. I just felt like she was kind of there, and she did try to make that move, but the fact that it didn't pay off, I don't know, it just doesn't leave me that excited to see anything more from her. I kind of want to say New Phone Who This, but I feel a bit mean. So maybe a one night stand.
A one night stand? Well, Kirsty, I know you've got a very deep personal bond with Kristen because of the Chris as part of the names. So I know this can be a very emotionally hard decision for you. But where would you want to rank like Kristen?
New Phone Who This.
New Phone. just off the bat, I don't care about the name. Just New Phone Who This. I do think New Phone Who This is kind of a bit too low for Kristen, because like if she was to come back, I'd be more like okay, more so than why, if that kind of makes sense. So I'm more personally leaning towards one night stand. Sophie, are you down for a one night stand?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. How about you, Will?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
I love this whole alliance we've got going on here. Let's put Chrissy to the side, and let's just make this our own podcast. We've got Kristen.
How long until we all on each other?
Exactly. Well, I mean, let's put it to the test now with Morgan. Who is Morgan is all I got to really say. Like she got no screen time. She was always there. But one moment that didn't make me laugh though, Christy, was when she was, telling Miles that like, why aren't you coming to me with plans? And he's just like, you're on the bottom.
Yeah, where was your Yeah. That argument just doesn't work when you're on the bottom, does it? It's like, why would he come with a plan?
Yeah.
I want to see New Phone Who This, but is that too harsh? She just got no edit time at all.
Yeah. I mean, like, well, like, I do kind of understand that maybe, like, there is a potential good play inside of her because, like, preseason, there was a lot of hype around Morgan, but we just didn't get to see anything. So do we maybe judge it more on the editing for not showing us a lot of stuff, or should we just take it face value of maybe there's just nothing to give in the first place?
Yeah, maybe we need to take it face value.
Yeah, I feel like we have to go off her edit, really, and the fact that she didn't even come back for Jory, the fact that she didn't even come back for Jory, she's certainly not going to come back for another season. So it's got to be a Phone Who This. Yeah,
and with Gabe's comment here, Morgan also not coming back. She and production don't like each other. I have heard some stories about Morgan. I don't want to share anything online just in case if it's maybe not true. But yeah, apparently Morgan was very difficult to work with for the production team. But Sophie, are you same board as us? You find who this?
Yeah, like you said, I think we have to go off the edit. In the edit, there just wasn't really anything there to work with. I really enjoyed the moment between her and Kate in the hammock where they had that kind of like nice conversation, and I feel like she was a really good friend to Kate throughout. But yeah, in terms of a returning player, there just wasn't really anything there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad, even though we voted Kirsty out of the podcast several times, we can all at least come back united to put Morgan at You Find Who This. But
this is my redemption rock.
Yeah, redemption rock. But Kirsty, I'll let you open with this. We've got Kate, the DJ dancer. She brought that energy. It seemed like she had a lot of fun on the show. Where would you sort of put Kate? Would you like to see her play again?
Oh, I am really struggling with this one because I absolutely love Kate as a person. I thought she was so much fun, absolutely fabulous. But does she have more to give us is what I'm wondering. She didn't really do tons of moves that I could can't really think of many moves at all that she did. So I would maybe put her in cheeky, maybe, even though I love her.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp. I love her as a person. And something that Kate brings up here is Kate didn't pop into Merge in the edit. She was a nice dark horse. Because, once she starts getting all the screen time about turning on Jesse, I was like, okay, here's maybe I always call it the Benji edit, where someone just comes out of completely nowhere and, just becomes the biggest character or the biggest player of the season when there was nothing of them leading up to that one moment where they made a move. Did you have high hopes for Kate for the first part of the game, or?
I mean, the first part of the game, it was difficult because there wasn't a lot of her. But yeah, like you said, as soon as she started making some kind of plans, I mean, the Girls Gone Wild alliance was a hint of what could have been if they hadn't been. I think we tribe swapped or something just after that, which kind of scuppered. Or there was a twist that scuppered that alliance. But if we'd seen that alliance come to a real fruition, I think we could have seen a lot more fun strategic gameplay from Kate. And we did see some towards, post-merge as well. And I think if she'd made it through to that immunity, which Miles won, she could have been a real strong contender for that immunity, and possibly we could have seen a very different end game. So I would like to give Kate a second chance for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the same category as that, Sophie. Are you also down for a second chance with Kate?
Yeah, I really love Kate. And I feel like when she formed that Girls Gone Wild alliance, in the scene before that, we could see her saying, we don't want to play a boring game. We don't want to just skate through in this majority alliance. And so I feel like she has got that kind of fun gameplay element about her as well. So yeah, second chance for me. Plus, I really want to see more outfits from her.
Absolutely. And, there's a great point that you bring up where, Kate, she didn't want to skate through. And that's why she targeted the skateboarder of all people, because he's just going to skate through all the way to the very end. I would love to see Kate come back a second time. But, we've got Zara, man. And Zara, for me, I was kind of all over the place with her. Where I was like, is she playing a good game? Is she not playing a good game? Because she was very on opposite ends of the spectrum. There wasn't really a point where she was in the middle. I felt like she was either doing really, really well or she wasn't really doing as well. What was your sort of thoughts on Zara throughout the whole game?
I think Zara did really well. I mean, obviously she got very far, but just to deal with having Miles and AJ in her alliance just shows how strong that she could be, because having to put up with the random plans, she was so determined to get Kate out for so long and it just was not happening. She had that determination. And I think she's got a good strategy mind on her and often could see the reality of what was happening more than even AJ and Miles sometimes. So I would be a second chance for her as well.
Second chance? How about you, Sophie? I'm kind of more leaning towards a cheeky maybe, where it's I don't need to see Zara anytime soon, but at the same time, I'm not opposed to a second date with Zara, I guess you can say. So where are you sort of sitting with Zara?
I'm torn between Legendary and Second Chance because I just thought she was such a hoot to watch.
Yeah.
Like, she was just so stern, and I think it was Max that described her as just having this really bad bedside manner, which for me is just a joy to watch. And watching her trying to wrangle AJ and Miles was very entertaining. For me, I think she falls probably out of Legendary and into Second Chance because I just really, really wanted to see that AJ blind side, and she was just so fixated on getting Kate out. I think I'll put her in Second Chance for that.
Yeah. Something that was pretty funny, Kirsty, is that my grandparents, they watched the show. They aren't super fans. They love the honourable people that were rooting for Kaylin throughout the whole season. But one thing they kept on saying to me was that Zara always seems like she's really mad about something, but you never know why.
She was always mad. I thought she was iconic. Absolutely. Yeah, so funny. Like just when they were having discussions and she was like, it's Kate and I'm not here anymore.
Yeah.
And that time when Miles played the idol and saved Polly, and Zara was just seething, and you could just see her like saying to everyone else, who did those two idiots vote for?
Yeah. Would you love to see Zara come back and play again? I
would go Second Chance for Zara.
Second Chance? Amazing. All right. Zara is now on Second Chance. And we're left with the final three. Sophie, we've already talked a lot about AJ and his game. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take a guess on where I think you're going to go. I reckon you're going to go New Phone Who This.
Spot on. Never want to see him again.
Yeah.
Terrible player.
Yeah, horrible player.
Complete opposite for me. I would love to see him come back and just cause more mayhem. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to think. Like, what would you do that's more chaotic than the hostage thing? If anyone can do it, I think it's AJ.
Yeah. Well, I would love to see AJ come back and play, but I'm a little bit worried if he was to come back and play, because very similar to when George came onto the Villains Tribe, all eyes are on him for his bombastic gameplay. Do you think maybe something similar could happen to AJ if he was to return for a second time?
Yeah, I think we've seen this like more and more. Like as the seasons have gone on, people realize like it's those huge game players that are really respected. But it's going to get to a point where like all of the returnees are just these like ridiculous characters, and they're all going to have massive targets on their back. I think that could happen. But if he's coming back for a season, he's likely going to be in there with some other really big threats as well.
Yeah. Well, would you put him in legendary status, or do you think it's more of a second chance?
I would put AJ in legendary for sure. The whole hostage situation thing alone, and the fact that he made it so far after that, it's got to be legendary for me.
Yeah. I mean, Kirsty, I kind of feel like we're all on the same page here. It was like AJ was clearly the player of the season, right alongside with Miles. Is he a legendary player for you as well?
Absolutely. I would just love to see him back. And I feel like if he did come back, he would go very much down the route of All Stars Henry. You know how he was just
Yeah, can I say Henry was one of my favorite players as well. So seeing him for All Stars, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And I remember one of my first ever Facebook posts on the Survivor fans like group chat, because in New Zealand, the season actually airs a lot later than what it does in Australia. And I think it was like first or second episode, I was like, who's a better player, say Henry or David? And that was the first time I ever got spoiled on Australian Survivor, because everyone was like, Henry is shit. He wins, he goes out so early. He doesn't know how to control his game and stuff. And thankfully, I wasn't spoiled that David won that season, but I was spoiled that Henry does go up very, very early. I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
That was a right boot for him, yeah.
Yeah, and well, we've got the most lovable guy here, and obviously since you're the most lovable guy on this podcast as well, we've got Mad Dog Kaylin, the challenge enthusiast. Not challenge based enthusiast. He manifested winning of the challenges. Where would you set Kaylin?
I really enjoyed Kaylin. I love his challenge enthusiast thing. I love that he was asking JLP to keep quiet about him doing well on the puzzle. He's taken that like low key strategy through to the end. I think I would definitely want to see him come back, because I would hope that he had learned from this season. You know, he got to the final 2, but he would learn to drop his shields just before the end, as AJ eloquently put it. So I'd love to see. I think he's definitely a second chance. I think not quite legendary just because he didn't make any huge moves. You know, it was very much like that quiet game, which, although it's great strategy, isn't that entertaining to watch at all times.
Yeah, well, Kirsty, something I loved about Kalen is that throughout the whole season, everyone's like, Kalen's playing an amazing game. And I was like, I can't see it. But you started to see it more later on in the game, where he's almost the AJ Miles whisperer, where he tells them all the information. And then it's like those toys, you wind them up over and over again, and then they just sprint off and do their thing. And that's exactly what AJ Miles did. Do you think if maybe AJ was more of a alpha-esque kind of player, similar to like an AJ or like a Henry or a David kind of player, that he would have gotten more respect towards the end?
If Kalen was more alpha. With the jury, yeah, probably. I think the jury were maybe looking for someone that had played a bigger game, but I would love to see Kalen back. And I wonder if he came back, would he go completely different way? Like, and would he play a more like fun, open game, I think, because, you know, it's out there, kind of everyone knows what his strategy was. Everyone knows actually he is like very intelligent. He does have a good strategic mind. So I'd hope if he came back, he would just be more like, oh, well, everyone knows I'm smart. I'll just go all in for it.
Yeah. Well, as Gabe brings up here, Kalen being asked back, he has the global record of most individual immunity wins. Now it's 7. Kalen looks like a golden boy, but played under the radar social game. I mean, I feel like he's almost perfect for Australia versus the world, because it's only 16 days. He would have just won every single challenge all the way to the very end. And the Aussie wins. Easy. But Sophie, where would you put Kalen? Are you also the same vibe of like second chance?
I'm torn, you know. I'm almost leaning towards a cheeky maybe, because I don't feel like, or I don't trust that he has that like mean streak in him, which is what I kind of want to see from some of the players. Like, I feel like he's just too kind that he finds it so difficult to like backstab anyone, that he might find it difficult to play that like bigger game that we all want from him. So I'm torn.
Yeah, especially when he got up at the final 3 tribal and was like, AJ Miles, you guys got to help me here. Who should I who should I take to the end? You guys tell me. And that would have been really funny if AJ Miles was like, how about this? We cast the votes. And Kalen just stays there. Yeah,
I thought JLP was going to offer to bring the rocks out for Kalen, you know, to help him.
That would be very great, you know, a rock draw for who gets to go to the very end. That'll be very iconic. But I do think we're kind of all agreement for more of a second chance kind of vibe with Kalen. Are we all happy to chuck him there?
Let's do it.
Awesome. And last but not least, winner, chicken dinner. It is Mad Dog Miles. Sophie, he played a phenomenal game from the bottom, from pretty much start to the very end. How's your journey been with Miles?
He's honestly one of my favorite characters that's ever been on Survivor Australia, I think. Like, even from the early days when he was having that like underdog edit, and you're thinking, oh, bless him, he's probably not going to get very far, but he's really happy to be here. And then he just kept on thriving from the bottom of the tribe, and I absolutely adored his journey. Quite like messy, as he admitted in his final pitch, but that's what made it like all the more lovable. He really wasn't afraid to be a bit chaotic, and it was just like such good entertaining TV.
Yeah. And how about you, Kirsty? Like, I'm kind of feeling legendary status for Miles.
Yeah, absolutely, no question about it. He was just amazing. He was just so fun and entertaining to watch, and you could just tell he loved being there so much. He just loved being in this world of Survivor and trying to do everything. And I love how everyone just knew he was chaos, but somehow he stayed in.
Yeah, I saw an interview with him recently, where he was talking about that even though he was on the bottom and other players were on the bottom, they were like quite negative and a bit sour that they were on the bottom. But he was just happy to be on the bottom, and that positive energy is what really drawn a lot of people to at least try to keep him safe or to like work with him on the next vote. Do you also see him as a legendary status player?
Yeah, he's easily a legendary status player. I mean, everyone loves a scrappy underdog, right? And I think Miles is the definition of a scrappy underdog. Loved seeing him giving Zara a bit of coaching as well when she was on the bottom. Just kind of like, this is your time to shine. This is when the game really opens up for you. And that's such an awesome way to look at it. And I haven't even looked at it that way before. Because, you see people on the bottom, they're just kind of like depressed and like, oh, I'll just go and make the beans then and wait for my fate. But Miles every time. And, that's why he won. But I mean, yeah, I'd love to see him come back legendary. It's just if he does come back as a winner, we know winners don't have a great track record on returning. So that would be my only. I'd love to see him work his way out of that one.
Yeah, well, let's hope they bring more than 2 winners for the next returning players. Even for Australia versus the world, there's only 1 winner on the tribe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For Australia.
I've got a really good idea for a season, okay? Wild cards versus winners.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like wild cards, you have your Nash, your Ken, your Max, your Henry from All Stars, and then on the other side, you've got all your winners.
Yeah, but would you also cast personal winners? Like I personally think Rogue won Heroes vs Villains instead of Liz. So do we then put Rogue onto the winners tribe?
Well, no, because that's very subjective, isn't it?
I'd put her on the wild card drive, though, for sure.
The wild card.
Absolutely.
I feel like you could get anyone in under that wild card label that you wanted to, couldn't you?
Yeah. I wonder if she'll orchestrate her own blindside once again.
We can only hope.
But, that does bring us to a close of Australian Survivor Brains vs Brawn 2, a very wild season. Sophie, I feel like a lot of people had very mixed kind of feelings on the season. I personally thought it was because everyone's just so excited for Australia versus the world. They kind of wanted to sort of shit on this one until Australia versus the world came around. But yeah, I loved this season. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I've seen like a few mixed reviews about this season. People saying like they didn't enjoy it as much because there wasn't as many big moves, which I guess like there weren't really that many when you think about it in comparison to other seasons. But there was just so many chaotic players that for me it was probably one of, not the favorite, but it's definitely up there of some of the best seasons, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Like Kirsty, for me personally, I think this is way better than Titans vs Rebels. Now, I want you to hear me out, because I know Titans vs Rebels is a very beloved season, but everyone was almost too strategic on it. You go, I mean, it's like, oh, I got to make this move. This move is so smart. This move is so smart. But I love seeing players fall on their face, and that happened almost every episode across the season.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think Titans versus Rebels, the vote, a lot of the time it didn't go the way you would expect because people were coming up with different strategies. Whereas I feel like in this season, the vote didn't go the way you'd expect because someone was just like coming up with a crazy plan and enacting it for inexplicable reasons. So, but I loved it. I just loved all the characters. I would have just loved to have seen, your Kent, your Nash, like Max make it further, but I just thought it was top tier series. So much fun.
Yeah. And how about you, Will? Any final closing remarks on the season?
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I think we had such an abundance of people in this season who were playing for their love of the game, for their love of Survivor, which meant that we got those wild, chaotic moves. We got the hostage situation. We got the hat burning. We got, just all kinds of like fun things going on, just because people almost weren't disappointed if they didn't win. They weren't, obviously everyone wants to win the $500,000, right? But like, they want to make an impact and just play a fun game. And we saw someone in Miles who was there for that reason, and they actually went on to win. So yeah, loved it. Great season.
Yeah. And unfortunately that does bring us a close to this amazing season. But Australia versus the world, guys, it's just around the corner. Who are you guys? Are you guys Team Australia or Team the World?
Team Australia. For sure.
Team Australia.
Have you seen their
that's-
buff? It's got a kangaroo on it.
No, they do. They do. We did talk about that on our cast breakdown. It was like, why is everyone looking so jacked? Like, everyone's very tall, everyone's very muscular. It's like, oh my gosh, like, too many biceps. Their biceps and JLP's biceps, like, my whole screen just going to be blinding me the entire season. But I have to go the world because I'm a New Zealander. I got to root for my girl Lisa, even though I love Luke. He's my favorite player of all time. I got to root for Lisa.
We were saying we don't think it's going to be long before there's a tribe swap. So really, it'll be like Australia v the world is not going to last that long, I don't think.
No, I was trying to break it down. Like maybe they'll do a swap at 10 and then merge at 7 or something. But it would be really funny if the merge was like at 4 or 5.
Yeah. The whole premise is just out the window.
Exactly.
I'm going to be so disappointed if the idols aren't kangaroo themed, like some kind of kangaroo.
Yes.
They need to be, right?
Or maybe for like the world idol, it has to be different, like 8 wonders of the world. Like maybe you've like a pyramid idol or something like that, you know? Or what's those like those statues? I think it's in Europe. There's like all those statues that's around that big circle on like that hill.
Stonehenge,
yes. There should be like a Stonehenge kind of idol.
I thought you were going to say like Mount Rushmore, you know, when they've got the president's face, but it's just like past winners' faces carved into the idol.
That needs to be a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had Island of the Idols. We've had like, you know, statues of players. Why not faces on mountains? That'd be pretty great.
Needs to happen.
There has to be all the wild cards, though. We have to see Kent's face up there. We have to see Rogue's face up there. Because all those amazing players. But unfortunately, that does bring us to the end of our podcast. I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming on to do this amazing finale recap. And, you know, to tell everyone, where can we find your stuff?
So I'll go. So, thank you so much for having us. We've had so much fun. People can find us at Make It to Merge Pod on Instagram. We're giving TikTok a try as well. As millennials, that's been quite the struggle. You can also find us on Spotify and YouTube where we're Make It to Merge.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all so much for coming on. For Sophie, for Kirsty, I love your energy. Will, you have such a brilliant mind. I loved hearing you chat about all the different individual players. You've all been so amazing. But if you are new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. Kirsty, it's got a winky face on it. Are you impressed by the amazing graphic design that's gone into this?
Oh, I'm astounded. It's right up there with the editing skills from the last season of Survivor.
Exactly. It's very up there. And as always, I have to say this every podcast, it just slipped out one point, and it's been a meme every season. If you want some cheeky, naughty, Mucky Hope content, you got to subscribe now. That's what the winky face is all about. But until next time, I'm your host, Mucky Hope. Ka kite anō. Make sure you check out Make It to Merge podcast on Instagram and Spotify. And I'll chat to you all next time. Have a good one, everyone. Bye.